All right, my name is Chris Crittenden, 99 West, Farm Springs Road, Midway. First off, I'll thank Tom. He's been super helpful the last 2 days. I've been pestering him constantly with texts. I promise I'll give him a day off after this. So all those numbers were really confusing, to me at least. Tom simplified it a lot for me though. At the end of the day, the tax increase will raise an additional $5.8 million. Of that, about 45% goes to not teacher raises, but to land acquisition for the high school. So roughly half of it goes to teacher raises and half of it goes to land acquisition. I will be the first to say that I think we should be thinking about buying land right now. If we don't buy land now, we won't have land when we need it in the future. And so I think that's important to remember. The problem I see with including it in the budget line here is that, as it was explained, when we raise this level here, that's the level we'll start from next year. And so what is effectively a one-time cost of land acquisition, we're building into our budget for every year in the future. So my alternative to this would be, rather than including in the budget line, which will raise our taxes forever, I guess you guys could lower them, but that hasn't happened in the past, would be instead to include that in the bond proposal that's going to be, I think, proposed this fall. That has three advantages for taxpayers. First, it puts an expiration date on that tax. Second, I forgot what my second point was. Oh, second is, it'll lower that 23% increase down to a much more reasonable, though still high, 13% increase, right? And then third, it just allows us as voters to decide. Again, I think we should be buying land today. We won't have it in the future. On the subject of voter choice, I think we should be, on that bond, be proposing not just a new high school, but we should be proposing expanding our existing high school. Can I have someone else with 15 seconds?
Sure.
I'm almost done. Okay. We should be proposing expanding the existing high school. That is possible. It's been done. The cost of that would be between $10 and $30 million versus a much higher 120, I think is the number. And so with this proposal, not only do we plan for the future, which I know our school board is trying to do, we're buying land now, but we're also acknowledging the current tax burden of our taxpayers by expanding the existing school at a fraction of the cost and allowing that tax burden to come when our valley is bigger and we're able to support it. Thank you.
My name is Teresa Pugmire. I live at 177 East, 2060 South. I have probably one of the best jobs on the planet, and that is I get to teach first graders how to read. I just wanted to express my appreciation to the board and to the district in general for the support that you give teachers. And by supporting teachers, you're doing what is right for kids. And I just wanted to let you know I really appreciate that. So thank you.
My name is Doug Ronick. I live in Lake Creek Farms. I've lived there for 15 years. Moved in 2004. Two of my sons graduated from Wasatch High. One attended junior high all the way through high school. So been in the valley for a while. And I guess I appreciate the videos here, but I'm having a really difficult time buying it. And the reason I'm having a difficult time buying it is it talks about there being years where things lay level. We get an assessment, you know, our property tax goes up and we get a levy. Well, let me just tell you what's happened to me. In 3 years, the amount of money that goes to the school district has gone up 52.6%. The amount that shows up on that line with the 23.41 shows up. In 2016 to 2017, I had a $247 increase. In 2017 to 2018, I had a $263 increase. And this year, I had a $477 and $95 increase in my property taxes. So the thing they talk about with the tax rate adjusting and being all meant to, I've never seen it stay level. And I know my property is not being reevaluated every year, because I went back and looked. I know how to read that tax thing with some help from the county to help me learn about that. I'm not understanding how this valley can grow. You look at the homes in Red Ledges, there's probably, I didn't check with Robert Campbell, So my guess is there's over 1,000 new building permits within the last year or maybe 2. Some of those homes are $2 and $3 million. If you take the tax rate and apply that to that, and a lot of those people don't even have children that go to school. They're people that are moving in from out of state, they're retiring and they're moving to Red Ledges, they're moving up into my neighborhood. And those people are paying the kind of tax rate that I am. So we are broadening our tax pool, but they just keep going deeper into our pockets. I don't get it. I'm sorry, but I would love to have that.
Sheila Johnston, educator, middle school. These are hard times. The thought that just keeps coming to me is extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. And we are growing. And with those growth comes new kids. And I'm sure the board won't be happy, or my principal will tell you that I had a class of 39 students, 4 of which had special needs. Most of you don't know the lingo that we use in education, but we have what's called a 504 plan, and an IEP plan, which is an individual plan. And I have these on so many students. Every teacher here can tell you. That means I'm required by law to fulfill those extra accommodations for that student. And having a class as big as that, and having to meet extra needs for these students is overwhelming. Today, and I'm going to try to be fast, I met 2 new teachers who are interns at Midway Elementary. I went up to them and I thanked them for having the courage to come into this profession. They can support themselves because it's just them. It is hard to support a family on our income, and I don't, my increase rate is significant. But you know what significant is for me as a part-time teacher? About $1,300 more a year. Other teachers are going to see that because they've been in the system longer and they've earned that and they've deserved that. But what I'm telling is being a teacher is harder than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But somebody made the sacrifice for me to get an education. My parents had 7 children, they skimped and saved. I know it's hard, but priority has to be education. You cannot effectively teach all the children that are coming to this valley without teachers who are paid a decent level. We are at the bottom of the state for per pupil funding, and that means we're at the bottom of the state for teachers' salaries. I work a side job. Thank you for having the respect for teachers to give us this raise. Thank you. Thank you.
Matt Sproul, 530 East, 400 South. I've been teaching at the high school for the last 5 years, and teaching for the last 10 years in the state. And I've had, usually when you talk to somebody and you say, I'm a teacher, they go, oh, God, they should pay teachers more. And I used to say, yeah, no kidding. But now I say, actually I work in Wasatch County, and I live in a community that cares about education. And we go to these, each year, and I just want to say thanks. I can answer that question a little differently because I live in this county, but I actually do feel supported as a teacher. And raises like this make me really, really happy and pleased to raise my family in a county that cares about education. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Is there anybody on the board that would like to respond at this point? Or do we want to move forward with any more comments?
I'll respond to Chris's comment. I appreciate it. I appreciate his comment. So, as a board, we're extremely reactionary to the growth situation. And the only way that we can be proactive is purchasing sites for future schools. And when we rely on a bond to do that for the money, again puts us in a reactionary state. So we have the same issue with finding the funds to be able to put the current proposed land under contract. So what this would do is this would help us master plan for the future by identifying and purchasing pieces of property that we could then build elementary schools, because that's the biggest one. Elementary schools are something that we'd like to keep in neighborhoods. And so we're going to need more elementary schools sooner than a second or a third high school. And the $2.6 million that we would get year over year, with your example, would put us in a better situation to proactively master plan for long-term solutions on how to handle the growth situation that we have. So hopefully that helps on why we're looking to be more aggressive in purchasing land to look into the future.
We are planning on using some of the bond money to buy the existing sites that we're looking at. So that is part of the bond resolution.
And then, I was just going to say, for the gentleman that doesn't have his questions answered, please come sit down with us. We do that on a one-to-one basis. Ask your board member to sit down with the business administrator along with the superintendent. We've done that for members in the community in the past, and we'll continue to do that. And we will open up any books or any questions that you have, and we'll make sure that you feel satisfied with our responses. We're trying to be as transparent as possible, and by no means is it our intent to make you feel like we're piling it on year over year, because that is an alternative perspective that some people don't feel. So your perspective is important to us, for us to hear that. So I encourage you to set up a time and come in, and whoever your board member is on this board, I know that they'll sit down and talk through it with you.
So with the growth, we have seen our tax rates go down, just as we did with the debt service. It did go down. And in my example of my taxes, I actually saw a decrease in my taxes from last year to this year because I didn't have my home reassessed. And so because of that, the amount of debt service went down more than the amount that the board held the rates or slightly increased with the capital. And so I think the people who had their homes reassessed this year, it was significant, and they are seeing a significant increase. As a board, we don't have any control over what homes are reassessed, when they're reassessed, and how much they're reassessed for. But as the example showed in that video, we actually, from last year to this year, I'm just talking what you paid last year and what you paid this year, we increased it $2.94 per 100,000 the value of your home. That's really the bottom line of what happened this year. And as Tom said, we are happy to meet one-on-one and talk to people about that.
Can you clarify why your total rate went down, though? It's not because the school rate went down. It's because the other entities lowered theirs enough so that your total rate went down.
Hey, let's try to keep this as organized as possible. If you have a comment, we need you to go back to the microphone.
Fair.
Because anyway, you go back up to the microphone, you want to ask that question. We'll go ahead and, any other comments by the board? Okay, let's go ahead and move on with the next five.
Cody Clyde, 999 South, 960 East in Heber. I can only imagine that raising taxes in a community is probably one of the most difficult decisions a school board could make. Everyone feels it. My parents live in this community. I live in this community. I've been teaching for 20 years. I just built a home, an average home, for close to $500,000. And I never would have dreamed that my average home would cost that much. After 20 years of teaching, I would think that I would be hopefully getting into a position where I could start to feel a little comfortable. And it's tough some days. Having said that, our youth are the most important resource in our community. We have the best kids in the whole state. And that's the best investment we can make, is in those kids and in our future. I think teachers should be able to live in the same community as their students. We have teachers from other countries who are coming here to teach our youth. And I can't imagine how difficult it is for them. So thank you so much for doing the hard work and asking people to pay more. I don't like to pay more taxes, but I do appreciate your support. Thank you.
My name's Callie Webb. I live on 1050 South, 2400 East, Heber. And I wanted to say something because my concern with taxes going up and up and up is, first, I have a master's degree in nursing, so obviously I care about education. I care about education a ton. But I'm also 65 on a fixed income. And you may not think that $200 to $300 a year makes a big difference, but it really can. It can make a huge difference. And so my question is, can't, besides just property owners taking the hit, can't there be like a, I don't know, a little mini sales tax on something in Wasatch County that could help make the base of support for this funding, not just property owners? That's all, thanks.
I'd like to answer that one before we move on while you're there. We are not allowed to do any sort of impact fee or tax on anybody moving in. That's against state law. And so anything that we would do outside of what we are doing, we're doing everything that we can do within what we can do. We can't go outside of that. We can't put a tax on anything. We can't put an impact fee on anything. And so I just want to clarify that for the rest of the comments.
So for the county, is there a way that the members of this county can say, oh, we'd like to levy a .0 blah, blah, blah pennies
I don't
on
think
it?
that's, I don't think
You
that's,
can't change the law.
that's not relevant to us. We can't make the county do anything. That's the question for the county.
It would have to go through the state tax code and the state legislature. I will say I don't want to give anybody false hope, but there is a movement afoot where the School Boards Association and the Superintendent's Association that spend a lot of time lobbying on Capitol Hill during the session. There's some conversations going on with legislators and proposing this very thing. It's been talked about before. Some of you that have been around a while will remember that Park City did this and was reprimanded by the legislature and had to pay that money back. But there is some talk about a movement to try and lobby our legislature to enact such an impact fee for schools. We'll just have to see where that takes us. But we're completely in favor of something like that.
Thank you.
We will work very hard with our associations, with our local legislators and other legislators to make sure that proposal is heard and hopefully gets out of committee and sees a vote at some point.
Thank you.
Callie, one other thing that it's important that the group knows tonight. If you talk to your city council, so whether it's a Heber City Council member or a Midway Council member, they have big decisions to make, and I don't envy the hard decisions that they have to make. They're great councilmen and women, and like us, they have to make hard decisions. One decision that they make is they annex property for developers into the city boundaries. So, for example, if a piece of property is in the county and a developer wants to bring it into the city, and why would a developer want to come into the city? It's because there's utilities, there's water, there's sewer. And when they do that, the city council can give them different options. And one of the options that is viable, and we've seen it happen with the Cobblestone Elementary School, is they can ask that developer to donate property. So, for example, right now, the current high school is in the current high school proposal land is in a county position, and it's being annexed into Heber City. During that annexation process, one of the stipulations could be we would like to see a portion of that land donated to help taxpayers with the schools. And that is something that I would hope that everybody when they have an opportunity to talk to their city council members, remind them, when you annex large pieces of property for the developments, that's your one shot to ask them to donate property, which would be a similar impact fee that you're discussing, because it would relieve the tax burden if you didn't have to go out and buy new pieces of property, because it would be donated by the developers for the potential growth that's going to occur because of their subdivision. So I think it's important that we continue to remind other city councils that they can utilize that and help with the growth issue that we're challenged with.
The other thing you can go sit down.
Okay.
That's my glasses. Thank you for coming and for voicing
Thanks,
your
Cal.
concern. The other thing that I think is important for everyone to understand is a year or two ago, the state legislature did an equalization of property taxes. And because there were some communities on the other side of the mountains that felt like, hey, we don't have the high assessed values like Park City and Wasatch and these others, so we think there ought to be an equalization. And they passed a bill that equalizes our taxes, and a portion of the money that we pay as taxpayers goes over the mountain or goes to other districts because their home assessed value isn't as high as ours. And we think what they didn't do is they didn't take into consideration the cost that it takes to live up here and the cost of homes for our teachers or anybody. So really, we need to get involved as a community and as a valley and speak to our state legislators and say, look, and we did. We fought this. We voiced our opinion about this every time they brought it up, and for several years they didn't do it, but they did finally pass it. And so that is really not fair.
Like, Paul, do you have any idea how much did we share last year in terms of that dollar amount?
It's all done through the basic rate. I don't really have a dollar amount. I don't think it does either. But Utah was actually already one of the most equalized states, but there's continually a push or a lobby from some of the counties that feel like they're in a disadvantaged position. Some of them are very rural, some of them are not. Some of them are more urban. But as Blake said, the error in the thinking is it would be like a business only looking at the revenue and not the cost side. So the cost side for Wasatch County School District is when taken in, there was actually a study done on taking into account cost of living. Our teachers are actually towards the bottom of the list as far as their pay. When you take that into account. And so that's another thing we've lobbied, we've fought, we've talked about. Representative Quinn has done all he could to help us. At the end of the day, there just seems to be more counties that benefit from that, and they seem to carry the day as the voting takes place at the legislature. But the more we as a community can be aware of that and talk to our legislators, that we're concerned about that. We don't want our tax monies going out of the county to another county. We need them here because our cost of living is much higher. That would be helpful.
And every dollar counts, whatever that means. Okay, any other? Okay.
The chairman's remarks really are a nice lead into my position. I'm William Kwok. I live at 35 Bull Drive in the county, the Heber City address. And your lead in about the different complexities are really the main point I'd like to say. I mean, I think most of us believe in teachers getting paid a decent wage, almost as motherhood and apple pie. It's where does the rest of these dollars go? And the points you're making, I would encourage you to do more proactive communication to us. Your video had 5 or 6 categories of funds on there. Not one single one of those videos on the first one represented the numbers that I took off of my 6 years of tax today. I mean, I took all old taxes, looked them at, say, what am I? First, I don't know what some of these are, but I wrote them down the way that the county tax assessor gives us. You need a better job to educate us on what's going out for buildings, what's going out for teachers, what's going out the county, and I think you will find a much more empathetic audience when we understand where it's going. yes, my taxes went down $43.75 this year, but it's gone up over $600 a year since I purchased the house about 9 years ago. And so I think we agree, as I said, teachers need to be paid a decent wage because there's ramifications that are critical. But you have to help us understand this gobbledygook, because even relatively educated individuals with master's degrees and 50 years of engineering can't figure it out.
Point taken.
My name is Nathan Shepard. I live at 1131 East 1040 South, Beaver City. I moved here about 4 or 5 years ago. I work at Midway Elementary, and I had an offer here, and I had an offer in Dayton, Nevada. And no, I didn't go. I was going to because the cost of living was lower, the salary was higher, but healthcare was significantly more generous here. And that decision proved to be fortuitous for my family, and I'm not going to speak as an educator, just as a parent, and thank the board and the community for your support. 4 years ago, my son was diagnosed with cancer, and that was very reassuring to know that the health care was included in the package. And later on, we didn't know if he would be able to go to preschool, but he did. And thanks to the district, he was able to get some high-quality, affordable preschool. And he was in the first wave of all-day kindergarten. So I just want to thank the board and the hardworking citizens of this county for providing for my family's needs, and just appreciate that my family's looked after. And my salary's not monumental, nor is it meager. It's modest, and it fits my family's needs, and I get to live in Heber City. I don't have to live in Dayton, Nevada.